Assalamu alaikum. My name is Yasmin Stannard. I just want to do a video just to explain some of the reasons why I became Muslim. I took my Shahada, which is when you declare your faith and become a Muslim. So I took my Shahada back in, I think the 5th of July 1993, so that was 27 years ago. At that time I was studying for a law degree in a London university. But when I look back, it was actually, I can see there was reasons way before being a student what actually led me to actually be open to the message of Islam. And I just wanted to, to sort of explain those reasons. Firstly, I just grew up, had a very happy family life, great family, really close, loving family. And I was just like a typical teenager through my high school years. But for some reason, I just, I wasn't happy with the way that I was living my life, and I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel proud of myself, or what have you. And I remember, distinctly lots of times when I would actually be in bed at night and I'd pray to God, and I always remember saying that, will I ever feel happy with the way that I'm living my life? Because I didn't know an alternative. So I was just, going along with the flow as everyone else was doing, and nobody was saying that this was wrong, but it just didn't sit right with me. So I think that, when I look back, I didn't know at the time, but when I look back, that was, a seeking or a yearning within me, that I was looking for a different way. When it came to, and another factor that, which I think played a major part in me being open to and taking it more seriously when people did start talking to me about Islam, was in my last school year of high school. Was quite a traumatic year for me, and I experienced quite a few number of deaths of people that I knew. Started first with my granddad. He passed away from cancer. That was like in the summer holidays just before I started my last school year. And then quite soon after we returned to school, there was a boy that I knew, and I remember distinctly seeing him arriving at a friend's house, and I remember his silhouette at the front door. He fell off his motorbike in wet weather, got hit by another car, and within days he'd passed away. That was a major shock for me, and that was the first funeral I ever went to with somebody so young. And then again, a couple of months later, there was a girl, again, remember seeing her walking in the playground. Next thing I heard that she'd had an asthma attack in the doctor's surgery, and she passed away. So again, that was another huge shock. This girl was even younger than the boy that previously passed away. But the most dramatic and I think profound and had the most effect on me was my friend Diane, who I'd been close with. We used to meet up. We used to go out with each other. We used to go to each other's houses. She, and I remember distinctly being with her in PE, the last lesson of school. I remember spending time with her after we'd changed after PE, and mucking around and laughing, and I remember her distinctly saying, "Oh, that's so funny," and then parted our ways. And the next time I saw her, she was laying on the floor in the road. She'd been hit by a car, and she just wasn't in a good way at all. A teacher had to come and give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I gave her my coat for her head, which actually was her sweater that we'd switched. I saw her being ushered into the ambulance. Saw her hand drop. She was wearing, quite a few of my rings that we'd sort of like switched with each other. And that's the last I saw of her. And then, days later, she had also passed away. And I think because obviously she was so much more closer with me, and again, it was just like one month after month, another, death happening. It just had such effect on me, and I just didn't know how to process it. My biggest question was, what happens after you die? I mean, nobody had ever spoken about it. Nobody had ever told me. I'd never been presented any information about what happens, and it just scared me so much. And I think I did actually go through probably would have been classed as depression for about a year, where I just couldn't sleep with the light off. And I just had so many questions, but no answers. So I would go to the library, and at that time, all I could think of is like near-death experiences. So I would, just consume books about people explaining their near-death experience, and I'm looking to clairvoyancy, and all things like that. And that did provide me some comfort, but it stayed with me for a long time. And I think that was, and the biggest lesson I learned from that is that there's no guarantees in life. You're not going to live until your 80s. There's absolutely no guarantees. It could be, you never know when your last day is upon you. So that was like a huge lesson. And I just remember being so sort of alone in the world. I just recognised my insignificance and my, there's this major world, and I just didn't understand it. That did have a profound effect on me. It had a profound effect on my personality. But it probably wasn't until I got to university and I met Muslims where, I think, when they started presenting me information about Islam, it just filled a void within me that I didn't even know, I didn't know I had this void. But, when they started telling me information, it just made so much more sense. I think to me now, I think you can't understand this life without understanding the hereafter. When you see the injustice in the world and whatever, there has to be accountability in another realm, because there is no justice in this world. Not everybody gets the justice in this world. And also it was actually the actual prohibitions that spoke to me. And I just, in Islam, there's just such a comprehensive way of life. There's every aspect of your life. There is a guidance on, and that is what I craved. I craved this guidance of telling me what is and what is right and what is wrong, and I got huge comfort from that. And and I think like the prohibitions, I could see that if I had those prohibitions, they would have been a protection for me. There were so many times in my life where things happened, or things I got into, or things that happened, which I didn't feel great about, and then I could see that if I was living by these rules, then I would have been protected from these things that had affected me in my life. So it was actually the rules of Islam, and just seeing them in its entirety. That if everybody followed Islam as it should be, this is a divine inspiration from God. He's put creation on the world, on the earth, and He's not just going to leave them there to just make up their own rules. He's going to give you an instruction book, and that, for me, the Quran was that instruction book, and the rules from the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam were, they gave us all the instructions that we need. And I think when I finally decided to take my Shahada and become Muslim, I think on that day the best advice that I was ever given was, don't judge Islam by the Muslims. Nobody from whatever religion is ever going to be a perfect representation of their beliefs. Everyone has good days, bad days. Everyone's a baggage of their past experiences that they're trying to grapple with and get over. So there are times when things haven't gone as they should, and things haven't gone as you would expect if everybody followed Islam as it should. But I always took it back to, well, what does the Quran say? What are Muslims supposed to be like? That is how you judge the religion. And in this day and age, you can't get your information from the media and how Muslims are presented. You have to go back to the sources or speak to actual Muslims. It's so important for us to mix as communities. So we can ask these questions, and we shouldn't be afraid to ask these questions, even the difficult ones, because we all hear sound bites from Islam of what Islam's about. But go to somebody or seek good knowledge, and that will give you the right information and an unbiased representation of Islam, and judge it from that, and just judge it in its entirety. Don't judge it from just one angle. For me, I've been Muslim now 27 years. Obviously, there's been huge difficulties within that, changing from one way to another. But it's provided me the comfort through all difficulties. It's given me, you know, the prayer has just been an amazing source to turn to, and the Quran has been amazing guidance. So yeah, I can't imagine living life without it. You know, through all the ups and downs, it's been the comfort, and it's like the answer of my prayer back when I was 16. That, you know, and I am happy. You know, obviously everyone can improve, but I am happy with the way I choose to conduct my life. You know, the rules I choose to follow, and I'm proud of that. So yeah, so basically that's my story. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.